Is this the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end? Just so starts one of the last songs of great band Black Sabbath, and it reminds something close to Shakespeare's To Be or Not to Be. On this small video, I was inspired by the last concert of the band, which I visited, and the way to this concert. Well, I hope you love Black Sabbath as much as I do. But this short video is not about the history of this great band. This will be about the impression of the concert, and about that why I do not agree with the wording that this is the end of the history of Black Sabbath, that this is the end. So, 5th of July 2016, Riga, Latvia, and place called Arena Riga. Full room where everyone gathered, Rigans and guests of the capital, including the Lithuanians, Estonians, Belarusians and Ukrainians. That's, well, of course, my friends and me. The path from Kiev took almost a day in the bus, distance about 1,300 kilometers. But all the inconvenience of the road are worth it. The capital of Latvia welcomed us with windy weather, and a lot of fans of the band that came from all around. Our dudes, metalheads, could be found everywhere, buying beer in the shops, on the streets, in parks. The fact that tonight in the city will be Black Sabbath's concert was felt strongly, and it was exciting. This created an atmosphere that something will happen soon, and anticipation did not disappoint. 8 o'clock evening, queue, security, metalheads, crowd, and of course official tour merchandise, like this one. Incredible! Well, as always at such events, queues for beer and snacks, but that's insignificantly. Finally, Hall and the band Rival Sons, the opening act, then Screensaver with the Devil, and the end of the world, and so they began. Then we heard the greatest hits of the band from the very first album, and not only things like NIB, Snowblind or Into the Void. Guys, members of the band, were as always on top, sea of pleasure. But this time the high was with a bitter taste. It was also unpleasant understanding that guys on their last tour. And maybe I wouldn't believe if the band was younger as itself and as its members, but... And now I just turn to the second part. More precisely, why I did not agree with the wording that the story of the band ends. If you look on the other hand, I think that actually to call it the end, it's just one of the steps leading to the real immortality. And the first step was respectively the release in 1970 of their first album, called Black Sabbath. I have two evidence that the band
Black Sabbath actually will live forever?
Okay, question. What is living forever? Eternal is a true art. And what is this true or real art?
This is art in which creator put a part of his soul, love, inspiration. This difference between real and fake we can feel between, for example, a statue that was created on the template to make a souvenir for tourists and a statue created by artists in the time of highest inspiration, something not for the masses.
There is a music, such as pop music, about which people tend to forget after a couple of years. But for example, Johann Sebastian Bach's music is a living for centuries.
Music Black Sabbath gives the same feeling, the feeling of authenticity. This music are alive.
And because of such a featuredness, their music now becomes eternal, along with the music of Mozart and the Beatles, Louis Armstrong and Liszt.
And it will live beyond the time, cause such things exist outside of time.
For example, Divine Comedy by Dante, already 700 years and people still reading it.
People still admire the Mona Lisa, Da Vinci, and it has more than 500 years. We also still listen to Ode to Joy by Beethoven, which is more than 200 years. And won't it be too bold for me to put in this series works in the genre of heavy metal?
Of course no. The main thing, it's authenticity, and heavy have enough of it.
And second proof that this music will remain forever.
I unexpectedly found this proof in people which I saw at the concert, in my friends, and even in myself.
History of the band has its origins in the late 60s, and theoretically on this concert in Riga, just like on others in the tour, had to be older people, those who are their fans since the 70s.
But the hall was full of young people.
No, of course there were people with the same age as a band, but their number was very small.
What does this mean?
The fact that younger generations are found this music of their parents, quite steep to listen to this music and to visit the band's concerts.
Look, I'm not in that age as the members of the band. Also like my friends, also like a huge part of the people which I met at the concert.
I myself am a living example. I discovered for myself Black Sabbath only in the 2000s, although the band existed for many years before that, and even before I was born.
All who love the Black Sabbath rised up to be here and now, and some even made a long way to be at this concert.
Hence the conclusion: if we, our generation, could understand and find beauty in the paintings of Salvador Dali, and it means our children, grandchildren, successors one day will make it too. If we, able to love the Odyssey of Homer or Akira Kurosawa films, then our children and grandchildren one day will love art of their parents, like Metallica, Queen or the Beatles. And these are the reasons for which I believe the Black Sabbath not the end, but actually never end, despite the fact that probably we won't visit their concerts anymore.
But their music remains with us forever, and it's great. Bye, friends!